I just feel like it's more moodier. It's like restaurant lighting. You're not trying to eat steak dinner in fluorescent lighting. I ain't trying to fuck in fluorescent lighting. I'm just
you guys, she's hilarious. Like I'm literally, my cheeks hurt. Hey y'all, I've been saying hey y'all because we're in Nashville. Hey y'all. Today I have Shannon, I don't want to say Shannon fucking Ford. Why do I want to say that?
Wow.
I want to put the F word as like your middle name.
Yeah,
yes.
okay. It's not well.
So I'm really excited. I've been wanting you on my show, seriously, since I started it.
Yay.
I'm not kidding. And I thought I would do a little icebreaker. Okay. So stay tuned 1 second.
Wait, I'm so excited.
We did this for you.
Are these penises? Yeah! I am single. This is not the preferred size, but I love a dick in a glass.
Oh, me too. And I was asking.
I've said it once, I've said it 100 times.
It's like my motto these days. I was asking Shannon before this, like, do you need a chaser? And she's like, no.
No, I'll have an olive.
And I'm like,
Cheese it.
Nope, I cannot do that. I need a chaser.
Telling her the Terramana tequila, which is the Rock's tequila, right?
Yes.
I was like, why do I feel like the Rock would just like be your uncle or something?
Everyone thinks my uncle is Stone Cold Steve
Austin.
And I'm like,
wait,
no.
that also checks out.
I also like go along with it.
You're like,
don't
yes.
deny it. My boyfriend for like 2 months thought he was.
Have you ever thought about going out for the WWE? You know how they have like that TV show and the girls, because it's all like theatrics.
Oh
and
yes,
stuff.
like Barbie Blank.
Yeah, I feel like you could like fucking.
Wow,
do that.
thank you. I'm really not that athletic or cool, but
I feel like
thank
you could slam some people down. Figure it out.
If you told me that they hooked up with my boyfriend, I definitely could.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I am aggressive in that way.
Spicy.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Tequila shot at noon. Let's do it.
Let's do it. No.
How do you do it? Oh my God.
With ease.
With ease.
Frighteningly easy.
Oh my God.
It's honest. It just tastes so nice.
Do you have, actually it was really good with chilling the wiener.
Was it really good? Did you like that?
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was really good.
I asked Shannon also, I was like, do you want to take a real shot or a fake shot? And she's like, are you freaking kidding? I'm like, well, I don't know. Sometimes I do like, a fake shot.
You never know. Well, actually, sometimes I'll film for this tequila company I work for out of LA, Los Sundays.
Oh, yeah.
And every once in a while, we'll have to like film a TikTok, and I want the TikTok to be right. So I'm like, it sometimes can take a couple takes. And we did this one thing that was like, take a shot if whatever, like the put your finger down challenge, but it was like, take a shot. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty good. We're obviously gonna have to replace this. Like, it was funny though, because I was like trying to make faces, but then I was like, wait, I don't make a face when I take tequila. So I was like, this is a really odd.
And then you're just trying, like, it's water, and you're like, and you're like, well, I wouldn't do that anyways.
Odd.
Okay, so first up, I just want to talk about your outfits and everything that you're wearing. If you guys are just listening on a podcast, she is literally wearing like Dior, amazing, just like an outfit that I really could not pull together.
Really? I feel like, oh, you mean like put together yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like, you could wear this, take it, wear it.
Yeah, but I don't know how to put the blazer over something that's see-through with the necklaces and the belt.
You know what I'll do? I'll show you a picture of what I had tried before this, and it's fucking laughable. Like, I put on this like white blazer shirt, men's shirt thing, and I was like, yeah, and then I was like, no, that's just too many pieces together. And I sent it to my friend, and she was like, we're getting warmer, but it's a lot. And so I feel like I just go for it, and usually it's bad, and then I'm like, what do I take away from this? You know, what's that old saying, like, before you walk out the door, take 2 things off, or take 1 thing off, whatever it is. It kind of just means like less is more. So like in a situation like this, obviously this is a lot going on this outfit, so sometimes you just have to, I'll show you the picture, you'll laugh. So it's not always a home run for me.
And I feel like also you're hilarious about it. You post like the hate that you get about your outfits.
Oh yeah, people don't love them. I'm not always a shining star for the people with the clothes. But I mean, that's the thing about your personal style. It doesn't have to be for anyone else. And there's a lot of people out there that are like, cool, I love that. And one of my really good friends, Anna Grace, she has literally got some kind of fur boa hat, like sequin on every orifice of her body. And you know, that is not something that, I say that today as I'm wearing all these beads, but like, that's not usually my style, but she rocks it so well and she's so confident in it. I really do just think like, I just don't give a fuck if people don't like my stuff.
Yeah.
That's easier said than done, but like for real, I'm out here trying to like flex on myself. And when I walked in, you guys were like, oh my God.
But also let's talk about that because it's really hard to get so much hate online.
Yeah.
And not even about outfits, just in general.
Totally. Oh my gosh, yeah. it's harder when it's something you really care about. Like my podcast, for instance, like I'm sure you too, you know how much time, energy, I'm like looking at this whole team you have behind you. Like it's not even just you putting all this work. It's like a lot goes into it and it's all focused around just you. And of course your guests and stuff, but it's hard when someone talks shit about that because you're like, but wait, that's like really who I am. That's not a piece of clothing I'm wearing. That's not whatever. That's like me. And I'm like, damn. But sometimes there are times where I feel like some is actually constructive criticism and they don't know how to do it right. And I'm like, your mom should have fucking taught you how to talk to people, but I do see what you're saying there. Like there's a nugget I can take away from their negativity. I can spin it to something that I could work on. But when people are just out here hating, it's like, I don't know. Like I've heard you say it before. It says more about them than you. But that quote that I don't know who said it. I feel like they write Marilyn Monroe under everything. It's never her. But
Theodore Roosevelt.
But I don't know who said this one, The Rock or whoever. But it's like I don't care what you think about me. I don't think about you at all. So like honestly, no shade to Jessica sitting at home behind her computer. But I don't fucking know who you are, and I don't think about you. So I don't really care what you think about me because I don't even know who you fucking are.
Right.
So when you think about that. For me, this is probably pretty surface level and fucked up. But when I think about what they like probably look like, I'm like, you know what? I don't care.
And like what they do for a career is probably very, not making them happy or anything like
they're
that.
just really upset with themselves. And I'm like, man, but it totally gets to me. I mean, actually all the time. I talk a big game and I really do. Like if I read something, I'm like, damn.
Yeah, but also depends on your mood too. Like sometimes like I'll be like very confident that day or it'll be like 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I don't care. If I read it at night and I'm like a little bit sad that night.
That's a good point, actually.
It really gets to me.
If I'm in like a victim-y mood and I'm like, fuck these people, then it really get to me. If I'm in like a bad bitch mood, I'm like, don't care, keep hating. Like you're right, it totally is dependent on myself, which that speaks volumes about you. It's how it affects you differently. And that's why I feel like it is a blanketed statement or a hard statement to really live by when you're like, don't care about what others think about you.
It's not realistic.
Like, okay.
It's like, and how exactly do you not care about what other people think of you? But also why I love you so much is you're so vulnerable.
Try to be.
You share a lot online. Yeah. And that alone must be really hard. Do you find it hard or is it like very second nature to you now?
To me, it's harder to not. Like I just really feel the need to just put it all out there. And a lot of people will say too, like, well, you don't have to share everything. I'm like, I personally like to, but like I just went through a breakup recently. We dated for 4 years. We broke up. I was just telling you, I think it was like 7 months ago. And you have to remember if you share everything with your people, then when you break up, you can all of a sudden be like, I'm taking some time for privacy and I would like respect your privacy. It's like, bitch, you talked about your hemorrhoids. You won't tell us about your breakup? It's like, you gotta do it all, So that to me, I feel like for my audience, that's important to me to make sure that if I'm gonna give them the good and the funny and the, it's like you can share the bad vulnerable moments, but low-key, they're still pretty funny.
Yeah.
You really need to share like the nasty ones too, like the sad ones and all that kind of stuff because there's someone out there that's like, damn, I'm going through the same shit right now. So even if I'm not amping them up for it, at least they might be like, Shannon's going through it too. Fuck. Sometimes it's shitty to say, but misery is company or misery loves company. Agree. And sometimes it's nice to know someone else is just going through shit with you.
I agree. And speaking of your breakup and sharing, I feel like you never shared the reason why you broke up, which you don't have to, honestly.
Oh, no, you're fine. It was, maybe I was pretty vague in the beginning when I first talked about it, and I could be more specific now. Basically, one day I was like, I felt like he and I were just coexisting. And I don't even want to say something like we were better as friends because like we still totally had like a great sex life and everything like that. It wasn't like I fell out of love with him romantically. I think I just I live in the moment. I'm like now, and that's truly what I live by. But for once in my life, I was like, what does my future look like with this person? And I didn't see it really being with him. And I didn't really know how to, express that or say that to him. And so basically one day I was just crying and he was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't know if we're supposed to be together forever. And he was just kind of like, well, let's talk about it. And I was like, okay. And we sat down and talked about it. And he was like, you want to try, like, he didn't, it wasn't like he was like, I agree, but he was kind of like, I could see where you're coming from. I was just like, I could live with you for the rest of my life. I could coexist with you for the rest of my life so happily. Like, when he moved out, I was like, man, he could have moved upstairs and we could have probably just kept on keeping on. Like, we were fine, but it was not what I felt like my future. And I mean, I'm about to be 28 in 2 weeks, and I was like, live YOLO, Shannon, live life, whatever. But like with certain things, it's nice to kind of like look into the future. And I just didn't see him as my forever in my future. And I believe that. I'm like, I'm a misogynistic That's not right. What? What's the word?
That's not right. Are you misogynistic?
What's the word that I'm looking for when you only want to be with one person?
Monogamous.
Monogamous. I am not a misogynist. Wow. My ears are sweating. No, it's like clickbait. No, so I just believe in that, and I was like, I want to. I know it's, not everyone lives the fairy tale, but I just hope for that for me, and I don't want to get divorced, and I don't want to have regrets one day, and so I wanted to be right the first time, and I just wasn't sure if he was.
I do feel like that's the hardest breakup, though.
It was because
nothing's wrong.
Nothing's
wrong.
And it's like,
why'd you break up? No one cheated. No one did anything wrong. It was like just like almost comfort level.
Yeah.
And it got to that point. And I also think in our 20s, I just turned 28 too.
Yeah.
And you grow up so much from you're a different person.
Started dating when I was 23.
Exactly.
Think about who you were when you were 23. It's like
you're different.
Wild.
You're different at 23 and at 27.
Totally.
And those mid 20 years, you find out so much about yourself.
Yeah.
And you can't really explain why you don't want to be with someone. This kind of happened with a little bit with my ex too. And I'm like, and you can't really put a finger on it. It's just the energy that you feel is not there.
And luckily for me, he wasn't, it would have been very hard for me if he would have got down on his hands and knees and cried and been like, no.
Right.
And luckily for me and for him, he was just kind of like, I think you're right. And I was like, okay. And then knock on any wood in this place, it's been really healthy.
I see you posting about him.
Yeah, I post when he has a song that he releases or anything. I always do. I just have
so nice.
We started as friends, so maybe that was helpful in the breakup. When you break up with someone, you're like, how could I ever be friends with that person? We started as friends, so it was an easier transition back maybe. But he's just a really great guy, and I'm just like, there's literally no bad blood, but it's hard to say that when you're like, no bad blood, and people are like, yeah, okay, Karen, what's the real story?
On the relationship.
But really, I used to look at breakup announcements, and they're like, we are happy and moving forward and choosing to and I'm like, yeah, bullshit, what really happened? But sometimes, damn, it's I started feeling bad for all those times I talk shit about random people, because I'm like, wow, that can really just be the real story sometimes.
Totally.
So.
And it's been 7 months now.
Yeah, I know.
Which I feel like is a great amount of time, by the way.
Yeah.
It's still, in the process of getting over it. And
totally.
And also, if you were already when you guys broke up a little bit removed from it, it's still just learning how to be alone and not living with your best friend and all those things. How has it been the last 7 months?
I'm over that sounds so harsh. I'm over him, but I'm more so still trying to navigate being by myself and living alone. We live together. I'm a paranoid little bitch. I literally think everyone's trying to murder me. I don't know if that makes me egotistical or main character energy,
Agreed.
but I'm convinced someone's gonna fucking kidnap me or murder me at all times. And so I'm I should look into that. Is that a trait of narcissism? Maybe. But I just really think that. So I get very scared living alone, but I'm every day. It's really funny because I remember the first week or two, this is dramatic, but I was literally calling my mom and best friends being like, I can't do it. I'm about to get a roommate and I'm so not ready to have a roommate. I do not want a roommate.
Yeah.
So they're like, you'll just get used to it. And you really do. It's a new norm to get used to in that regard. Your life shifts.
Totally.
But luckily I feel like
you're traveling so much and you're off to New York City, and I think that's what you should do after a breakup of any sort is not finding yourself again. It's not that, because you already know who you are, but it's more so doing things that you would just on a whim do.
Yeah, that you wouldn't have done it. Or if you had another person in your life, you would have been like, do you want to come with me? Or you would have been like, I'm going to do this. Does this work with your schedule? And you get to be so selfish,
I kind of miss it.
I know. I'm you were single for a little while, and then I watched one of your podcasts that you were like, you never know when it's going to happen. It could be right around the corner. So enjoy these moments, because especially now that it's starting to get colder, I'm like, damn.
Yeah, so are you dating?
I wish I had a boyfriend.
Are you dating?
I'm dating for sure, but I don't have anyone specifically that I'm exclusive to.
Right.
I actually just had to have a conversation with someone that I was been seeing, where I'm like, I can't give you exclusivity. I can't in good faith tell you that if someone else came around, that I wouldn't be like, yeah, I would love to go on a date with you, maybe hook up with you, maybe whatever. I can't promise you anything. So I want to be clear, because I don't want to be the douchebag that I've had be to me so many times.
Absolutely.
These guys are just out in these streets, just willy-nilly. I don't want to be that person to someone else. So I make sure that I'm very direct and honest. Not right off the bat, of course, but when we started having conversations about just traveling, and he's like, oh, what are you going to do? And I was going to someone else. I was like,
oh no.
Listen, it's just tough. It's tough because I really like this guy. He's really great. I cannot commit to him. I can't commit to anyone right now. I couldn't commit to Brad Pitt right now. I really don't.
Okay, so do you think when someone says it's just not the right time, do you believe it's not the right time or it's not the right person? Because if the right person comes along, would you settle down?
Yeah. I just think it's not the right person.
It's
I
just
don't know
easy
how to
cop
say
out.
that.
It's an easy cop out.
Totally.
And it's like when I met my boyfriend, I was in nowhere. I didn't want to date anyone. I was like kind of like a fuck girl. Like, definitely. Like our first date, I literally just told, he doesn't even know this, but he doesn't watch my show, don't worry. But basically the first date I took him on, I was actually going to a house party.
That you took him on. I love that.
No, literally no. He met up with me because I was wasted and I just texted him randomly because I blew him off the night before. I was going to a house party that my guy invited me to, that I was going to hook up with this guy. Yeah. I brought him to the house party.
No, savage.
And I, like, obviously, didn't think I was going to date him. But I think you obviously know, like, even within like the first week, I want to say.
Totally. You do know within the first week. And I mean, I told this guy, I was like, I said, you're like, I met him very, very, very soon after John and I broke up, like randomly on a rooftop somewhere. It was really cute the way we met, but like, it was like 3 weeks after John and I broke up, and he doesn't live here, so we've just been back and forth. I always talk about how I love to outsource the dick. I ain't trying to fuck anyone in Nashville.
Whoa, say that again.
I love to outsource the dick. I just do not want to fuck anyone in Nashville. It's too small. It's too small. Everybody knows everyone's business.
Like New York, LA.
Well, really, I'm not discriminative towards the city. Could be Idaho. If you're hot and you live in Idaho, I'm interested.
You'll fly somewhere for the guy. I feel like it's way more effort if you don't even care.
No. It's not like I don't care. It's just like I just don't want to sleep with people here. Like I really don't. I don't know, unless I'm gonna date them. It's just like people talk. This is just such a small town. Like everyone talks. Everyone. I don't know. I'm like, ugh.
Especially because, like you are very famous in this city. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's not as many influencers like Los Angeles that like everyone knows who you are.
Yeah. It's not like LA or New York. Like, it's just smaller, and there's a lot less of us. It's a smaller pond for sure. Right. So I mean, I don't even want to say like I'm famous here. It's a smaller circumference. So you're easier to be well known in a place that's just smaller and has less people doing what we're doing.
Totally.
So I mean, LA and New York, it's like filled with influencers and entertainment world.
Everyone has 100 million followers.
Yeah.
Speaking of, yes, more
tequila,
ice.
Please. More dick ice.
Speaking of, do you want more tequila? Yes. Small, city. Yeah. You recently ran into someone.
Oh yeah, I did. I was telling you before the show. She was like, "Is anything off limits? Can we talk about Barry Cavallari?" And I was like, "Yeah, nothing's off." First of all, if you know me, nothing's off limits ever.
I just had to ask because I know you're very open online.
It's a very nice thing to do as an interviewer, to ask if anything's off limit. But yeah, so I was saying, I was like, what's so funny? She was asking about the show that I was on. God, 4 years ago.
And has it already been 4 years?
I know, right? And I really am not trying to be like, I was on this show. I mean,
I watched you on the show.
It's great.
I knew you before the show, but she was on basically a show with Kristen Cavallari.
Yeah.
And you worked for her.
I worked for her
before it existed.
Yeah, yep. Like a year before, we all knew the show was going to be a thing, and then the show, but shows are hard. Like, you live in LA, there's pilots, there's this has to get picked up, it has to get a showrunner, it has to do all this stuff. So, don't call your hometown prince and be like, I'm going to be on TV, because you're probably not for a little while. So we did the show, and then I infamously got kicked off the show in a really bad falling out with Kristen.
Was it real?
That falling out and the firing, yes.
Really?
Yeah, it was terrible.
Because sometimes reality shows is not real.
Yeah, no, that was very real, and it sucked.
And you worked for her for a really long time.
Yeah, 2.5 years or so. We were just really close.
In terms of like social media and working for people, that's a very long time.
I worked out of her living room for the first year. So we were just very close. So that sucked because I didn't just lose a boss, I lost a friend. And then we really didn't talk. We did not speak to each other for from the moment I walked out of her office when she fired me on national television. I never saw her again, never talked to her again. And then really the universe is fucking funny because we were just talking about how small this town is. I mean, granted, she's not out roofing shots of tequila at the bars I'm going to, but I never have run into her one time. And we,
that is kind of
similar
crazy.
Circles-ish, never so much as brushed each other's shoulders. Never saw her at the grocery store. Never saw her. I could list all the things. I never saw her, and I just thought, how peculiar, But it's interesting because I do believe in the universe and how it places people, and I think that it knew that that might have been tough for me, or maybe I would have reacted in a poor way, maybe I would have been rude, and I just think so much time passes and shit, I just don't care anymore. And before I could have sat here and made this whole podcast about how I felt about her, how she wronged me, all these things, and you just grow up and time passes and. Time is a real bitch, but she's also kind of your homie because it sucks, and then it just doesn't anymore.
Right.
And I saw her at a Preds game in this like lounge area, and I know her friend that was with her, and so I didn't see Kristen at first actually, and so I went over to say hey to her, and then I saw Kristen, and it was just so casual and nice. I mean, she was like gave me a huge hug and was like, it is so good to see you. She was so kind. She was so nice. It wasn't some big dramatic thing. It wasn't like we whipped our phones out and like took a selfie. It was just like genuinely kind and casual. Like she was just like, it is so good to see you. And I was like, it's so good to see you too. And that was it. Like there was really, it was just poof. You know what I mean? Time just passes and you're like, I know exactly. Who cares? You know, it's like maybe for me, like Kristen was like an ex to me. Like I thought she did me wrong. I loved her. Then she broke up with me. And then I was like, I hate you. And then it also happened to be on national television. And it sucked. Like there was a part of the end of the show that, I mean, it's not her call probably. She was an executive producer, but she also like, it's reality TV. I know what I signed up for. And there was a part that was made up about me missing meetings and like not answering the phone. And I was like, I really held on to that, I think for the wrong reasons. Cause I was like, that's not true. Bitch, I fucked up so much in that job. She should have fired me. No, seriously, she should have fired me a year sooner. I think I was just on the show and she was like, she makes for good TV. I can't fire her. Like, I really wasn't committed to that job. I just, you know, I got on reality TV and I started doing my own Instagram and I was 23 and I just fuck 22 on the show actually.
So young.
And I just I didn't think it was, now if someone like that worked for me, I would literally be like, bye bitch, no. Right. I'd be like, I know what you're doing. I did that. No, you're not, I'm not dealing with a Shannon Jr. She sucked. Like I see where she was coming from, but it just takes time to see that perspective. Yeah. And
also, she was going through something at the time too, like her divorce and stuff.
No, that was later on. Okay. That was later on. But I mean, who knows what people are going on behind closed doors? Totally. Who knows? She could have been going through her own battles. And I think it's just so nice to feel like that is a chapter that's like, it's not like I slammed the book closed. It was like, a nice little like, it's fine. If I saw her again, it would be fine. And are we going to be BFFs? I'm sure not. But like, it's just nice. It's nice
not
that she...
Not to hold any remorse. Because that takes so much out of you and your energy to hold any...
It gave a lot of energy to that for a very long time.
Yes. Yes.
Like I told you, before if you would have sat down, I would have been like, I'd love to talk about that. Let's talk about nothing about that. Like it's toxic. You know what I mean? That's not, and not on her part.
And like, you want to move on. It's just like a relationship. You want to move on from it. You don't want to hold that anger anymore. You want to,
totally
get rid of it. I do have to say... Sip the tequila. Isn't it hilarious how she was in quotes dating Chase Rice? And no one knows, I met Shannon because your best friend used to date Chase very, very long time ago.
Taylor is married and has 2 beautiful children. She's pregnant with one. Yes. But like, I mean, it was funny because on the pilot of the show, actually, like, I think they like mentioned that, like no one ever saw the pilot, but I think it was like mentioned, like, oh, Taylor used to date, because reality TV loves a celebrity.
Loves it. You know?
So like, I don't know. Yeah, it's funny because who knows, like time passes and you're like, what? Wow. Yeah. Things are funny. Yeah.
Things are overlapping here. This is interesting. Again, small town. That is why you outsource the dick, because you don't want to have that crossover.
Yeah. You gotta outsource the dick. Yeah, I know Kristen's got a jet. She just fly somewhere.
Yeah, just
go.
Do you have any like worst date stories that you've recently come across?
Worst date stories. I feel like before I met my ex John, for sure, I bet I have a ton. But recently, no. I mean, I've gone and gotten drinks with people that I'm like, I just don't really think. You know, they're like, so I'm Catholic. What about you? I'm like, I don't really know.
I don't know what I am.
Really, it's like, I'm like, another tequila, please. I don't know. Just when you were like, wow. When you have to like search for conversation, I'm just usually out. Like
when it's so natural, that's you don't have to think about like what your next question is going to be.
Yeah.
Isn't it so weird how sometimes it just comes so natural, and then other times it's like, oh God, I'm itching for a question.
Say. Totally. Oh my gosh. And I've like hung out with people where I'm like, wow, I love when they talk, but when they don't talk, I'm like, what the fuck is we doing? Like, I'm not entirely comfortable in silence all the time. And it's funny because I actually say as well, I say, someone's your real friend or your person in life when you can enjoy silence together.
I literally just had this conversation yesterday.
You can just sit there and not talk.
And especially in a car as well. When you can sit in silence in a car and it's not awkward and you both feel each other's energy, then you know that like you're comfortable. It's okay to sit in silence.
Totally. And sometimes I struggle with that, which is odd because like I just said, I love that feeling. Yeah. But sometimes I'm like, should I be talking? It's like naturally who I am. I just like want to talk and entertain and do whatever. And so I'm just always like, is it?
I actually have a funny question about that because I feel like we're very similar in the sense where online, our social media personalities are who we are in person, yes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that comes with always having to be on. And when you meet someone, do you ever feel any pressure to be like, I have to fit a persona?
Well, I recharge by literally shutting the fuck up and sitting there and like staring at walls. Like I sometimes like, do you ever drive in the car and you're like, I haven't turned the music on. I've been driving for an hour.
And like, what am I thinking
I'm
about
like,
right now?
whoa. Like my body just physically needs to not speak to people and just recharge. But to answer your question about when I meet people, it doesn't happen as often anymore, but well, first of all, I was the villain on that reality TV show, like straight
Is that what
up.
you call yourself, the villain?
No, it's what everyone called me. I was the villain. Oh my God. I was the villain on the show. And so people would meet me and they would expect something totally different. Yeah. And that was fine. I think now more so what you're saying is people meet me and I think that actually when people meet me, they're like, not you. I'm like, I want to take another shot, please. But like when I go to a bar sometimes, I'm just too old for this shit, man. I can't be like taking a lukewarm shot of Jose Cuervo. I'm like, baby girl, I know you probably put that on your dad's credit card and I appreciate you, but fuck, I cannot take that. Like I just cannot. And it's not even anything against Jose Cuervo. I just mean like, I think people really expect me to be like, let's fucking go. And I'm like, I'm just trying to have a fucking Aperol Spritz sometimes and just vibe. Just want to vibe. So I think I don't feel the need to be on like that. And people, I think I talked about this recently to one of my friends because I was like, people, I think must think I'm a lot more aggressive than I am, and I totally am. But if I know you, like I feel comfortable with you to be like, Katie, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But like if I don't know someone, I'd like to say I'm a pretty relaxed individual, cool, calm, collected. And this girl came up to me one time and asked me for a photo. I'm laughing because I really don't think she meant anything mean by it. I think she was just trying to relate to me and like be nice. And like she was like, can I get a photo? I was like, sure, of course. And we took a photo and she's like, oh, you're gonna fucking hate that. Trust me. Let's take another one.
What?
And I was like,
oh my God, no.
Oh, but I know because
she's trying to be your best friend.
She follows my Instagram and she sees the way I talk and communicate and she's like, she'll love this. She'll remember me as the girl who was looking out for her. And I'm like,
oh my God.
I looked at it and first of all, I did think I looked fine. And I was like, girl, I look fine. You're good. And she was like, no, let's take another one.
You're gonna hate that one.
It's just, I think people they're very aggressive with me. They're like, hey bitch. And I'm like, I'm like, whoa, I don't really talk to people like that.
Do you ever get anxiety of how many people you have to reply to? And
yeah, I just don't. I try to, but
it's really hard.
But if it really makes my day, which if you've ever received a message from me that says that just made my day, it is because I've read the message and it made my day, and I'll respond to it. But like every time someone says something nice, like I would get anxiety if I opened up all the messages and replied to them. So I mean, I feel like people sometimes if someone messages me and it's like I've messaged you 12 times and you've never responded, I feel weird. I'll be like, oh my God. I'll open it and be like, don't feel weird. I love you. Blah blah blah. But I don't think I think it would give me more anxiety to open them all, and then it feels icky to like hire someone to open all my messages and be like, thanks girl, love ya. I know people do that and I get that. I'm actually not shading anyone that does that because in the industry we're in, you want people to feel connected to you. But you know when people have like those texting apps, like text me. I'm like, are you texting them back? No, Adele, you're not. And we love you, Adele, but you're not texting them back.
Yeah, so it's I feel you. It's just so hard sometimes when people ask you a question or like sometimes like a really heartfelt letter and you literally need to sit there. If she's like, how do I feel more confident? I'm like, oh my God, this needs 7 paragraphs.
I know. So for me, I'm
exhausted.
I know that you would do the same thing. I would assume that for me, I'm like, if I read that, I hope that this person follows me, and I just know that they'll be able to. I will answer that question in my content, I hate to call it content, it sounds so impersonal, but like in my interviews, in anything, I will answer that question without individually writing back to them specifically. Like you can't do it all. And I think the second you try to do it all is like, that's when you start doing less. That's when your shit just starts getting not as good as quality because you're just overexerting yourself.
Absolutely.
And I actually know girls that have assistants that will respond to like, hey girl, what size do you have? And blah, blah, blah. That, I'm like, yeah, get an assistant for that for sure. But when you start getting an assistant to like talk to your people back about like feeling sad or down, I'm like, that's not authentic.
That's supposed to come from you.
And I feel really passionate about being authentic. So I'd rather not respond to people than be inauthentic responding to them. Because you can just sniff that out in a fucking
I'd rather
second.
just not reply.
Yeah.
I now want to talk to you about your podcast.
Yeah.
A podcast.
You're about to come on it.
So, and if you're watching this, I was on 2 days ago. I'm like, hey. Okay, so you first started out with your best friend. I want to hear about the transition of you going solo because I also did the same thing.
Really? I didn't know that.
Well, mine wasn't as public like
okay.
that.
Was that something we shouldn't talk about? Sorry.
No, we can totally talk about it. It wasn't even anything. It was just like my podcast with my friend was a totally different one. It just made me, it wasn't me. I was pretending to be someone. I was talking about, I've never had a one night stand in my life. And I literally was talking about like me having sex with guys, like making up stories and like being a very sexual being. And I'm actually not.
You can't force that shit. You can't,
and
especially something like that.
We were talking about sports and I was like, sports and sex. I'm like, those are two things I actually don't really have much interest in anymore.
I'm definitely really bad at one of those things.
Yeah. That's funny. I got it. Yeah. It takes me a second, but I got it.
I mean, I was watching the hockey game the other day and I was like, what inning are we in? And they were like, I can't tell if you're trying to be funny. And I was like, I can't either.
Those are three. Well, trimester.
We are fucked.
We are so fucked.
Damn, we are never going to be a wag.
I quit the podcast. Well, I also did it because when you're not, you were different. You guys went top 10, or you went top 10 in a week.
We had such great success so quickly. Like the very first episode we put out, we went number 1 on the top charts for comedy. Like insane. I remember they were like, "You're above Joe Rogan." I was like, "What the fuck?" Like it was just so cool. Like, and of course it was just for our one episode, and then we just stayed on the charts in the top 10 for like the weeks to follow, and it was exciting and exhilarating and awesome. And then you climb so high up, and you know what that means for the fall. It's like the fall is just, it fucking hurts, man. Yeah. Like it fucking hurts. And so you're not on a step ladder. You're like 17 stories up. So when it ended, it was tough because I'm like, what is with me and breakups that are healthy? But I'm like, there was nothing bad to say about it. Like she was moving, she was doing different stuff. I don't think it aligned with what she wanted to do long term.
Right.
I mean, she's one of my dearest friends still. Shouts out to Mary Carl. I love her. I literally was texting her before I got here. You know, it just wasn't something that she needed to continue doing. And how can you be mad at your best friend? Like I said on my podcast when I talked about it, I'm like, man, it would be so easy if we were fake friends. That would be so easy. Right. But we're real friends. So people asked me a lot, like, are you not so pissed? And I'm like, how could I be pissed whenever she's my best friend? Like, I need to like worry about her. And I'm not trying to sound holier than thou at all, but that's really how I felt. I was just worried about her. Right. She was sad. She was wrestling with the idea of not doing something that she really liked doing and enjoyed doing. So it sucked for both of us. But like, man, it was tough because I was like, I have all this and now I have nothing. We had a network deal on the table that's so nice. Like, I couldn't even believe it. Like, I was like, someone wants to give us that? Someone believes in us enough. We only had 12 episodes and like this deal was on the table with like a huge network. And
just off Instagram, you got that audience.
It was incredible. Like Instagram, and then because we went to the charts, like the podcast app kept pushing us because we had this momentum, and so it kept promoting us on the podcast app. So if you're someone that is just surfing podcasts, ours would come up like new and noteworthy or like top charting. Like it was a lot of people that are like, I don't know how I found you fuckers, but I love y'all. Yeah. So it was great. And you know, of course, when she said she had to leave, I was like, damn. And I was like, network, someone work with me. And they're like, we're gonna have to pull back a little. And I'm like, damn, okay, all right, fuck. So, you know, it's just like, the floor falls out from underneath you and you're like, shit.
But also at the same time, first off, working with your best friend is really hard.
Yeah.
It's really nice that you guys...
She's type A. She's so organized. She's so perfect. Yeah. I really wish I was more like that, and I'm not. And she was so beneficial for the podcast because of that. But man, like, I was just not like that. And so deadlines, they're tough for me. Like, they just are. I was like, blah, 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 like the creative. Now I worked my ass off. I edited the podcast. I recorded the podcast. I did all that stuff. But like, she was the one that's like, hey, bitch, don't forget, we have to do this. Hey, bitch, don't forget this.
This is what we're doing.
When I showed up, I had my notes written out for me. She was like, I'm not going to tell you what any of these bullet points mean because I know you can't be scripted. So, like she knew me so well because we were best friends, but we were polar opposites in the work idea field of things. So
totally.
Man, sometimes I really be missing that. I really should hire some of, like, you guys got friends? Fuck. I need some of these people in my life because it's tough. It's a fucking production.
It's tough. Scheduling everything, scheduling the guests, and it is really hard.
You'll be my second guest ever. So like, I really want to start having guests.
Front door.
No, seriously, ever. Second guest.
That's monumental.
I never had a guest with Mary Carlisle either because we were like, we'll have guests season 2, and then there never was a season 2.
Oh my god.
But like, really, I'm excited to start having guests and to learn from you and see how to interview people. You can shoot the shit with your friends. You can talk all you want, but I'm like, okay, Shannon, don't interrupt people. Don't interrupt people. Don't interrupt people.
You can interrupt me all day.
No,
honestly.
the number one, our very first guest was this great guy. His name was Jalen. And the number one thing was like, girl, I love you. You've got to stop interrupting him. Like, fuck, damn it.
See, that's constructive criticism.
It was. Yeah. No, it's nice.
I will say I really loved what you said too, because you understood why she left as well. I would say, you know, when you work with friends or when you work with someone that you were friends with before you started to work together, if you're not happy with what you're doing, you have to take business aside.
You have to.
This is not about business. This is about the person that you're friends with happiness.
Yeah.
And if I truly just wasn't happy.
Totally. And she understand that?
I've actually never opened up about this like at all before.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't spoke to her in almost a year.
Damn.
Yeah, it's really tough.
Man, that gave me chills. I'm sorry.
It's really, really tough because we were best friends for like 4 years.
Maybe it'll be a similar situation like I just had with Kristen. Like I said, time can be a bitch, but she's also a homie. She looks out for you. Maybe y'all aren't supposed to be talking right now.
No, I love her to death. I do. I think she thought that I started this show. I ended that show to do my own thing, which had literally nothing to do with it. I ended that show because I was unhappy and it didn't fit my brand. I was like doing a deal with like Walmart and they were like very family forward.
Totally.
And I was like cussing about like, I fucked this dude who, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even do that, by the way. I made it up. And it was not on brand. And so I stopped it because my parents were like, hey, Katie, get a grip on who you are. You work towards this your entire life. Don't fuck up your career.
You know, I
stopped it. And then 6 months later, I started this. And it had nothing to do with ending it at all. It was like literally just like.
That's so tough.
I went to school. I went to USC for broadcast and hosting. Like,
You're like, I'm meant to be doing this. It just wasn't that version. And really, actually, Mary Carlisle, she came from radio. Her accolades are through the roof with like her hosting, her everything. She's on the red carpet all the time. Like, she's incredible. And I it's not that I don't think it fit her brand, but I wonder too if she's at some point had to come to Jesus with, I know my friend Mary Carl, and what she was saying, nothing was like not her. She wasn't like faking anything, but I do think she might have taken a step back and been like, I don't know if this is the direction I'm supposed to be going in. And I'm not trying to sound like a saint right now, but I could have in that moment been like, oh, now you want to be all fucking churchy church. Like I wasn't. I was like, dude, I get that. Like
sometimes you don't realize it until you put it out to the public and it's been a few weeks. And especially when all the high goes off, you guys did amazing and stuff. And it's like, oh my God, this could do well.
I talked about my pussy. You're like, wait, that's on the internet forever. Like, you're like, whoa. And that,
very vulnerable.
That hits different. For me, I just really don't care. I could just talk about my pussy all day long. I don't know why. I just really could. But I just like, for some people, you like weeks go by and your family comes in and they're like, what is this? And for me, my family's like, oh my God, you've literally been a fuck up your whole life. We're just not gonna listen to it. As long as you can pay your bills, it's fine. But for some other people, it's like, that is important. And for me, I know her and I love her family. I love everyone that is involved in her life. I love. So if anyone didn't feel comfortable with what she was doing and then that made her realize, well, I don't know if I'm comfortable doing this, then guess what? She's my best friend. I want that for her. So
Thank
that's
you.
really,
Thank
and
you.
like, I don't know. I'm not trying to,
some things. Yes.
No, I'm not trying to sound like, there are times where I totally don't react the right way, but that was a time in which in my life, I think I handled it how I would hope someone would handle it for me, because I don't feel comfortable doing certain things, and I would hope like someone wouldn't shove me off a building because I'm really afraid of heights and be like, yo, it'll go viral. It's like, no, like I don't feel comfortable doing that. So comfortability is everything in sex and life. I was just talking about on my last episode, like if you're not comfortable doing something in life, there are things you're like, push yourself out of your comfort zone, whatever. But at some point it stops being your comfort zone and it starts being who you are. And you don't need to exit out of that space. Stay who you are. Totally. And there's a lot of people who are like, you just need to go out of your comfort zone, go out of your comfort zone. And you're like, no, I'm going out of who I am. And that's not a comfort zone anymore. That's just like not being myself. And that's not what we're aiming for here
I think
in life.
You just said like the smartest thing. And I'm dead serious.
It's the tequila.
Like that was really, really, really insightful.
Thank you.
I'm not even kidding. Very insightful, because it's like, why do you keep doing something that doesn't make you happy?
Yeah.
It doesn't bring you any joy, and it's actually
push yourself.
ruining a friendship.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm talking about something specific. You don't need to do anything that makes you unhappy.
Yeah. And there is a difference from being unhappy and uncomfortable. And push yourself in your career. Push yourself, like I said, through the bounds. But don't push yourself through hoops that you don't need to jump through because you don't like where the hoops end up. Like that's where you gotta think end goal. In relationships and careers, like I said, like don't fight for a relationship that you're not sure you should be in the long haul. Like I could have begged and pleaded Mary Carla to stay in that, but I knew that she saw the end and that wasn't what she wanted to do. And like you, like if she called me tomorrow and was like, I'm starting my own podcast, I'm starting my own show, I would be like, fuck it up, sister. And I really would wish her all the success because she's fucking qualified to do it. It's not like whatever, like I'd be like, oh, now you want to do it? It's like, whatever, she's badass.
I told her that she could do the podcast on her own.
I really did take 3 months because I was like, I want to start this when I feel confident and cool. And right now I'm just sad. So like,
it's good to take
waited.
Months off too.
I waited, and when I came back, I felt good, you know, and I felt like I didn't have resentment towards anyone or any situation. And the only thing I had was like, I was scared because I was like, man, we went number 1 on our first podcast. Like now I feel like I have to do that. And guess what? I went number 3. And guess what? Who fucking cares? No, I mean, like, who cares? Right. It's like, it's so cool. And it's so
like
great.
Insane
it's like,
to even go number 3 or number 20 or number 100.
Right.
Like,
you're just like, you're like, who? Like, there's no bar. Like, whatever. No. Fuck the bar.
No,
who
you're
cares?
only setting it on yourself, by the way.
Unless you're going to law school, then you got to pass the bar. But like, other than that, fuck the bar.
Yeah. But like, no one else is putting that pressure besides you.
Yeah.
Like,
No one else cared if I went number. No one else. It's certainly not Mary Carla. I wasn't like, I hope she doesn't go number. You know what I mean? Right. Everyone was wishing me well, except for myself. I'm like, what the fuck,
and
Shannon?
That's the thing about our industry as well. It's like people can be like, oh my God, like look at someone else and be like, oh my gosh, she's my competition, whatever. I can't believe she's doing that. In our field, your personality makes you different. It doesn't even matter if she starts her own show and you guys are both top 5 at all, because no matter what you do, it'll be different.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it all sounds cliche, but cliches are cliche for a reason. But like, there is enough fucking room for everyone. As long as someone is not calling themselves Katie Austin, wearing this outfit and saying the same things, like they're doing their own version of what you're doing. There's difference in everything. Like,
I completely agree. I have a really fun game. It's actually called Shooting the Shit with Shannon.
Shooting the Shit with Shannon. Okay.
Okay, so.
That's what people have told me my whole life. Damn.
Sex on the first date.
Sex on the first date. Sure, if you're into it.
Oh, I love that. Drunk sex.
Drunk sex feels transactional to me these days. It
I feel like it's so overrated.
I'm just not into it. This guy, I shouldn't steal that line because the guy just said this on my podcast and I couldn't have agreed more. I'm like, 2 glasses of wine sex? I'm like, I feel warm and happy. Sloppy drunk sex, not into it.
I feel like the
might
movies,
fart. I don't know. Just too much shit is.
And by the way,
relaxed.
It also takes like an hour, and I'm like, this is not fun at all anymore.
That's
the
just
movies
too long.
romanticize it completely. It's in the media and the TV shows. It's like they at a bar in their waist and they come home, they have amazing sex. It's like, no, you actually don't.
I'd rather like have amazing like make out and then go to sleep.
Exactly, same, 100%. How many drinks on a first date?
Fuck, I was just on the first date where I was talking about where I was like, ugh. And then he had ordered 2 drinks and I was on my second drink and I really wanted to order like a third, maybe 4th. And then I was like, don't. Like I really try to just peg off of, I know I should be my own person, but I really just try to peg it off of what they're doing. I'm like, if they're not chugging.
6 tequila shots later and they're on like their first drink.
Yeah, I'm like, all right. I don't want to ever make anyone feel uncomfortable or leave a date. And if I'm like, never see them again, he'd be like, she was a drunk anyways. Like, I don't, whatever they're doing, I guess I'll like mirror it.
Yeah. Okay, farting in front of your boyfriend.
Not into it.
Really?
No, and you know, like, people are always shocked by that. They're like, what, you? I'm like, I don't know, because maybe mine just smell bad. I just really don't really ever want the like chat after. I'm like, oh, sorry.
Well, I don't want to, just sometimes it happens.
Oh my God.
It's not like I try to.
It's happened to me so many times, and they're always like, who cares? But I'm always like, sorry.
No, my boyfriend's like, excuse me, that's disgusting. And I'm like, fuck off.
Fuck off, sorry.
Literally, it's human nature. It's not like I try to, though.
Yeah, well, you're doing like a lot of workout moves. I feel like yours would just slip out all the time. I'm not really doing anything
You're
like
hilarious. Okay, most famous person that you ever slept with?
Most famous person I've ever slept with. Damn. I really don't, no, I'm serious. I'm like, I really don't think anyone famous. Nope. Wait.
You think you're someone?
No, I don't. I'm trying to think of like a famous person I've gone on a date with. A football player. I like hooked up with this guy that played for the Bears, Kyle Long, a couple times. Actually, Kristen introduced us.
Wait,
but he's like a refrigerator.
Kristen,
he's so large.
Who's Chris?
Didn't match up really.
Kristen introduced you?
Kristen introduced us. He played for the Bears at one point.
Kristen.
Cavallari. She
Yeah,
sorry, her husband played for the Bears.
I have 3 friends named Chris.
No, sorry. No. No, I think that's the only one. Yeah, I really haven't gone down the celebrity rabbit hole. I should, if you're interested.
Hey,
I'm open to the opportunity.
We're going to circle back in 6 months and see. How soon is too soon to meet the parents?
I'm weird about it. I wouldn't introduce someone to my parents unless I really liked them. Yeah, my parents are like my fucking homies. So like I would FaceTime with my parents, but like bringing them home, if I could like alter the question, how soon is too soon to bring them home? Like I want us to be boyfriend, girlfriend.
Well, you also have to travel to go
Totally.
home. That's a little different. Like
Totally.
my parents live 20 minutes away from me.
Oh, so you're like, this is just fun.
So
you're like, I'm testing you.
They literally met within 3 weeks.
Yeah, I would be like, this is a test. I live so close to them. Yeah, I get that.
So close. It's not a
Yeah, mine's like 7 hours away.
Lights on or lights off when you hook up with someone?
I'd love a middle ground. I know I'll never be hotter than I am right now. This is like my fucking peak. The time is dwindling, but I still don't really want all the lights on. And I feel really confident in myself, but I'm just like, if we could just throw a blanket over the lamp. I just feel like it's more moodier. It's like restaurant lighting. You're not trying to eat steak dinner in fluorescent lighting. I ain't trying to fuck in fluorescent lighting. I'm just
you
not.
Guys, she's hilarious. Like I'm literally, my cheeks hurt. My cheeks fucking hurt. Take back a cheater?
No. They just don't fucking change.
Do you believe in taking a break in a relationship?
No. I think I think really it doesn't make sense. Like my ex and I talked about it, like, should we take a break? And I was like, for fucking what? Like break maybe if there's some, if it's long distance or I don't know, there could be different circumstances. I feel like I've heard a time where someone took a break and I'm like, I guess that makes sense. But if you live in the same city and I just don't get it.
Sometimes when you just break up and you forget about the chance to get back with someone, it actually helps because if you take a break, you're just in your mind, you're not gonna ever get over it.
Oh my God, yeah. I don't think you can't break up with someone and end up with them. I just don't understand the weird limbo of the break. It's like
are they allowed to hook up with someone?
Yeah, it's like the Rachel and Ross thing. It's like, we're on a break. I'm like, what the fuck is a break?
Yeah.
It's confusing. If you have to give rules to something, I'm like, what is this?
If you took a break, if I took a break with my boyfriend and he hooked up with someone, I'd be like, that's cheating.
No, yeah, it's cheating. Yeah.
But if I did it, I'd be like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, do you text him sorry the next morning after you blacked out?
I've never blacked out. Can you believe that?
I'm sorry, what?
Never. I know, it's absolutely shocking.
That is a unicorn.
It's sometimes unfortunate because I remember everything.
Wow.
But I can't relate, but I would, if I did something stupid, I think if it was really dumb enough, I'd be like, LOL. Oops.
On that note, you have the best Instagram captions in the entire world.
Thank you.
Do you like literally think of your Instagram captions yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I thought you meant like beforehand. I'm like, sometimes if I think of something really funny, I'll be like, I'm putting that in my notes. That's gonna be a caption later. But no, I definitely think about myself.
You are so funny on Instagram. Okay, last question.
These are great questions.
Any reality star that you would hook up with?
Harry Jowsey.
Really? That's interesting.
Oh, no.
He was on the show. I interviewed him. He honestly, okay, so
she said,
wow. One last segment before we go here. We have a segment called Mood Boosting Mantra. And basically where it's a motto, a quote that you live by, something that like motivates you. It could be anything or just like instilling confidence.
I like to live by when people are like, what do you live by? I truly believe, do no harm, but take no shit. Like, don't hurt other people in the process, but don't take any fucking shit from anyone. And that's like a good way to live, especially in this day and age, especially being a woman in this day and age. Do no harm. You don't have to be a fucking Karen, but take no fucking shit.
I really, really, really like that. Mic drop. Let's end on that right there. Shannon Ford, everybody. Where can they find you?
Probably Shannon Ford on Instagram and TikTok, whatever. Too old for that shit, but I still try. And probably a podcast, of course.
Amazing. All right, well, thank you so much. And make sure to follow her. Make sure to go check out her podcast too. And I'll see you guys next week.